Hey friends, welcome back. Today I'm going to take a look at Thanos by Donny Cates. So this is the deluxe hardcover here, the oversized deluxe hardcover. So yeah, same dimensions as an omnibus. And I don't know if this edition is still in print, but in case you have the opportunity to purchase this, we'll take a look at the build. So this is the front cover and spine of the book. It's not a very big book. And here's the back cover. Underneath the dust jacket, we've got this really nice wraparound art by Jeff Shaw. So pretty cool stuff. It's beautiful artwork on the cover and the inside, the interiors. The artwork in this series is top notch all the way through. And in terms of binding, we can see there's not much of an eye, but it's such a thin book, it's not really that big a deal anyway. Let's get to see if I can find a double page spread here. So here's a 2-page spread. Yeah, there's really no real gutter loss. There's gutter curve, but and because of that, you're not getting as good of an image as you would if this wasn't curving in like that. But yeah, overall, it's not that bad. And in terms of paper quality, it's decent. This paper is, not super thick, but not like the kind of tissue paper thinness that we've seen in other books. So it's okay paper quality, kind of standard for what you see in Marvel and DC graphic novels today. And yeah, it's glossy paper. So overall, it's pretty well put together. So let's take a look at what's in here. What does this collect? So we've got Donny Cates writing all the issues, Thanos 13 to 18 annual #1. Well, there's other writers in the annual just because it's so many different stories in there. And then Cosmic Ghost Rider #1 to 5, followed by Thanos Legacy #1. So I went into this, I really didn't know anything about this. I knew there was a lot of hype when Donny Cates was writing Thanos. This was a few years ago. And because I don't read single issues, I don't collect single issues, I'm always a few years behind with the Marvel and DC stuff. But yeah, I remember people were really excited about this. There's a lot of hype over this series. So it's one that I always wanted to jump in on, and finally got the chance here with this book. I love Cosmic Marvel. I love those characters. I grew up reading Silver Surfer in the 90s, like that Ron Lim, Ron Mars era, and then of course Jim Starlin with all his Infinity Gauntlet series, Infinity War, Infinity Crusade, and then his Adam Warlock and the Infinity Watch stuff. I love Cosmic Marvel, and I feel like there haven't been a lot of great cosmic sagas. There's Dan Abnett's and Andy Lanning's Annihilation stuff, along with Conquest and War of Kings, etc. But other than that, I feel like there hasn't been a great cosmic saga at Marvel in a long time. And so the way people were talking about this series when Donny Cates was writing it just got me fired up. I was really interested in reading this. And yeah, I gotta say, this series is so much fun. And it's not just a fun read, it's an absolutely insane read. Donny Cates, the thing I love about Donny Cates is he has so many crazy ideas. He's all these different takes on these characters, and he's not afraid to just throw them out there. He just courageously tosses out these crazy, insane ideas, and it's so novel and unique, the take that he has on these characters and these concepts. And so it's packed with action. It's filled with a lot of energy in the art and in the story. And with regards to the art, Jeff Shaw's art, the first part of this book is all Jeff Shaw. He does the Thanos issues, and then Dylan Burnett takes over for the Cosmic Ghost Rider stuff. But Jeff Shaw's artwork is just beautiful to look at here. It is so much energy to it, and it's not a realistic style, but it's got this gritty textural feel mixed, sort of layered on top of this almost manga influenced artwork yeah, it's great. I think it really captures the dynamic of this story very well. So let's talk a bit about the premise of this story, or the Thanos part of this, the Thanos issues of this book. So basically, present day Thanos gets pulled into the future by, well, an older version of himself. And yeah, I'm gonna try to skip over as many spoilers as I can, by the way, but I might have to talk about a few things, some minor spoilers here and there, since I am doing a bit of a mini quick review here. So anyway, present day Thanos gets pulled into the future by older Thanos. Older Thanos needs young Thanos to help him defeat one last nemesis. Old future Thanos has basically conquered all of his enemies, and he just needs help defeating this one last enemy. And it's interesting because the younger Thanos kind of looks at the older version of himself, and he's not impressed. It's almost like when you talk about multi-generational workplaces in the real world, when you get millennials mixed in with baby boomers, or even some older Gen X, and the younger people in the office are like, oh, these old guys, they're so set in their ways, they're kind of coasting, they've lost all their ambition, they never want to do anything or take any risks. And then the older guys in the office are like, oh, these young people coming in, they've got all this energy, but they have no focus, and they have no patience, and they want things now, right away, and they need to learn to channel all that energy. And I feel like that's the kind of dynamic you have here between young Thanos and old Thanos. It's very much like younger Thanos, like, man, what's happened to you, man? He says that to old Thanos, and old Thanos is like, you'll know when you get a little more life experience. So it's a fun, interesting dynamic. It makes for a really interesting story to see Thanos basically protagonist is Thanos, antagonist is Thanos. It's a neat concept. And then we have to talk about Cosmic Ghost Rider, who I think for me is the standout of this book. The best thing about this book altogether is Cosmic Ghost Rider. Who's Cosmic Ghost Rider? Well, he's got the powers of a herald, so like Silver Surfer, Fire Lord, Airwalker. He's got the powers of a herald, but he's also got Ghost Rider powers. And how those two power sets come together, I'm not going to spoil that. You'll read the book to find out, or Google it, but I won't spoil that. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Cosmic Ghost Rider is not what I expected. So Cosmic Ghost Rider, I remember when he first was introduced, and the market was like so hot for his first appearance. Like that, I don't know, the value of the issue that he first appeared in shot up right away. He was like the hottest character of the year, and I can see why, right? Like he's a guy. I mean, where's the good? Gotta be a good shot of him here somewhere. He's a guy who rides. He's a guy in a spacesuit with a flaming head, and he rides a space motorcycle through space. Like, come on, like that is awesome. And he's heavy metal, right? So that's kind of what I was expecting. I was expecting like this really gruff, mean, tough Ghost Rider, like all the other Ghost Riders. He's nothing like that. He is a bit of a lunatic. He's got a few screws loose. He's actually, in a way, a little more like Deadpool. He's quippy. He runs his mouth off. He's not really altogether there. He's a little bit insane. And it's oh boy, just trying to avoid some spoilers here. It's totally insane. And I love this character. I had so much fun reading this character. I almost think, for me, the second half of this book, which is the Cosmic Ghost Rider series, the first 5 or 6 issues of that I enjoyed even more than the Thanos stuff. And I feel like Dylan Burnett's art really complements it well, because it's almost like a dark comedy, and Burnett has this obviously very stylized, almost cartoony artwork, and it just fits so well with the story. And so what happens here is that Cosmic Ghost Rider, he decides to travel back in time, and he wants to kill Baby Thanos. So he's gonna go back in time, kill Baby Thanos, and save the universe a whole bunch of grief and destruction, and death. And when he gets there, he sees Baby Thanos, and he's like, I can't do this. I can't. It's Thanos, yeah, but I can't kill him in his crib. So what he decides to do, being a little bit insane, is he kidnaps Baby Thanos and decides he's going to raise him as his own son. I mean, it's such a bizarre sequence of events, and it's so much fun to read. That's the basic premise of the story, and I won't really go into much more detail than that, because it's such a fun read. This is insane, and I think I've said insane like a dozen times now, but it's just a lot of fun to read. This is a great book and a great series. Now that said, I do have I do want to talk about some stuff. Some of those crazy ideas that I was talking about with Donny Cates, where he just kind of tosses them out there. It in a way, it reminds me a bit like Grant Morrison, where you know how like Grant Morrison has, when you read a Grant Morrison book, it's obviously the guy has like more ideas in the tip of his pinky finger than most writers do in a year. And Morrison just kind of, when you read a Grant Morrison book, he casually just kind of drops these ideas out there, and each of these ideas could like, easily to be developed into a book or a story on its own. Donny Cates, not quite at that level, but he does kind of litter this book with crazy ideas as well. And one of those crazy ideas is, so one of the powers of a Ghost Rider is that he has something called a penance stare, and all the Ghost Riders have this. And what a Ghost Rider does is he looks into the eyes of an enemy, and all the pain and suffering that has been caused by that villain gets amplified and then redirected onto Ghost Rider's victim, right? So Ghost Rider picks up a bad guy, looks into his eyes, and bad guy just goes insane from all the pain and suffering that he's caused. And that's the penance stare. The crazy idea here, though, is that when Ghost Rider does that to Thanos, it doesn't work, because Thanos actually enjoys the pain and suffering that he's caused. When it just gets reflected back onto him, it's like a warm bath. He just loves it. And so that's what I mean, like just these neat ideas, these neat unique takes on these characters and concepts. That's why I had so much fun reading this book. So back to a criticism I have. My one and only criticism is really that this is a great story, and it's a fun Thanos story, but for me it doesn't feel like Thanos in a way. Maybe those of you, the old timers who've read the old Thanos stories like I did. I grew up reading the only Thanos stories I read growing up, and because they were the only ones that were out there, were the ones written by Jim Starlin. And Jim Starlin's Thanos is not necessarily evil, I would say. He's more amoral. He's not immoral, he's amoral. He has his own sort of motivations and ambitions, and he will do whatever it takes to achieve them, but he doesn't necessarily set out to cause mayhem and destruction for the sake of mayhem and destruction. But yeah, in this series, Thanos is very much that. I feel like a lot of writers, they I know it's very like this is who am I to make this critique of professional writers out there making a living actually writing the stuff that I'm just fanboying over. But I feel like a lot of writers don't get the nuance that Jim Starlin had put into Thanos when Jim Starlin writes Thanos. A lot of writers treat Thanos as just like he's a villain. He just likes to cause destruction and mayhem, and he wants to kill to satisfy his love for the cosmic personification of death. That's very much how I feel like how Donny Cates writes Thanos is just he's this narcissistic, genocidal sociopath, and sometimes he just is mean for the sake of mean, and and the Thanos that I grew up reading, or the Thanos that I have enjoyed the most, which is from the Jim Starlin stuff, is that he's not really good nor evil. He will play either side as long as it gets him closer to his goals. And he does have a sort of code of honor, a sort of integrity that only he understands, and maybe Adam Warlock. But yeah, he doesn't he doesn't go out there to do evil on purpose. And I feel like with this story, with this book, that's not quite the case. He's much more going through the extra stuff here. And in this series, Thanos is very much a villain, and a villain that you kind of enjoy following because he's such a badass and a complicated character, but still a villain nonetheless. So that would be my only critique of this series. It doesn't quite feel like Thanos to me. Maybe that's the modern interpretation of Thanos now. And if that's what it is and people like that, that's fine. That's awesome. But it's not quite the Thanos that I'm used to reading about. So anyway, that's it for this kind of overview / mini review of Thanos. I hope you found that useful. I hope you found that informative or entertaining. I don't know. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.